Hey there, and welcome to the podcast Tiling Connect, hosted by Mark Moskwa. This show is designed to connect people with the best information intended to strengthen the business of tiling. To keep up to date with all the episodes, don't forget to subscribe.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tiling Connects. Mark here. I have the honour and privilege of having another exclusive guest on the show today, Chris Stenhouse from Laticrete Australia. Chris is the technical sales representative. Chris, I think I've got that correctly.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, so welcome, mate. We're glad to have you on the show.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Mate, you're very welcome. Hey, let's crack into it straight away, mate. Love to get into these episodes pretty quickly and deep dive into a whole bunch of questions and find out more about you and your background and where you've come from. I know that you've got a tiling past before you before you handed over the notch trowel to the next guy and took up a representative job, which is a pretty excellent segue to go into. But mate, yeah, tell us about you, buddy. Where did your career in the industry start?
So for me, when was it? 2007. So end of high school. I was working in a supermarket. I'd been there for 3 years. I did my certificate. I think it was certificate 2 back then in retail management, which was, I think I was just in a position where I had an opportunity to manage the store, which I later realized I did not want to do. But I got a certificate in retail management that way, which I'll lead into that later because I have a funny story. And then I realized I did not want to do that, and I turned 18 and then saw a few jobs in the local paper, one for a landscaper, one for tiling, wall and floor tiling, and I had no idea what wall and floor tiling consisted of, so I went for the landscaping job. Did a resume, did everything, sent it off, heard nothing back. I'm like, oh well, I'll go for the tiling job. Looked into it a little bit. Landscaper got back to me saying, hey, I can't open my your resume on my computer. So I sent that back, and by the time that happened, I had the tiler ring me back on a Sunday. I remember I was at Phillip Island with my nan.
Wow.
He goes, can you start tomorrow? I'm like, sure. So went out, did an interview, and I basically started next day, which was, would have been Tuesday or something.
Yeah.
And that was basically it. So I could have been a landscaper, which I still always wanted to do because you're working outside and gardening and you're building things. It's a bit more versatile. But yeah, went into tiling. So I did my apprenticeship. I was in domestic for 3 years with my boss at times. We were doing lots of volume building projects. But we also did high end. So he had about 9. I think at one point there were 9 of us.
Yeah, wow, that's cool. That's a good sized team.
Yeah, for a domestic team, that's pretty good. So learn a lot there because obviously volume build, you learn speed, and you don't like to say it, but they're good to practice on.
Yes.
So you learn your speed. You can learn your skills on those projects.
So when you say volume, Bill, are you talking, there's another term coined, investment properties? Is that sort of
just your cookie cutter?
Yeah.
Stock standard.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of tiles. It's on a board. There's a brown wall, cream floor, maybe, some sort of feature piece for the bathrooms. And then it's just
stock standard.
It's just one colour all the way through on the main floors. Yeah.
Yeah. 450s on the floor, 200s on the wall, maybe a nice little mosaic band feature.
The little Lastellos.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we did all that. And then obviously there was the higher end side of working with that company. And that's where we sort of honed our skills a bit. So, doing your miters and, basically our boss was saying, hey, take your time on these jobs. So that's where we learned, where we really honed our skills. So there's a couple guys actually who were, so Bryce Island, for instance, down here in Victoria,
Oh yeah, island tiling.
Island tiling. Yep.
Island
So
tiling. Yep.
we did our apprenticeship together. He's got Lockie, who taught me.
Yep.
There's a few others, but we're all the same company, and then we all split off and did our thing. So in my fourth year, I went over to commercial, which is completely different ball game.
Did you do a certificate 3 of wall and floor tiling at the
Yes.
TAFE?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But I did on site.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I didn't go to actual TAFE. So there, which I kind of regret because there's a few things like I've actually never rendered before.
Yeah. Okay.
Until I started with Laticrete because obviously we sell it. Screeded, did heaps of screeding, especially in commercial, heaps of screeding. The screeding's fine, and the whole thing was, rendering's just screeding, but a little bit wetter. But that's not the case. It's actually really hard. So kudos to full-time renderers. But
yep. Big shout out to the renderers out there.
That's it. But so commercial, and that's where you learn. Anyone who's been in commercial, speed is key.
Yep.
And I was 20, 21 at the time, and I was getting, for a 21-year-old, I was getting a lot of money for commercial because you got your site allowances and working at heights and all above level 4 or whatever, it goes up a little bit more, and then you got the value of the job that gets added to. Anyway, anyone who's worked in commercial knows what I'm talking about, but it was good money for a 21-year-old. And for a small time, I was managing a site or supervising, with about 15 guys. And I think that's when I realized I didn't want to be in commercial. Very robotic. There was, not to say there was no care, but coming from the high-end stuff that we were doing, going back into the commercial aspect, I didn't enjoy it because you're a tiler. You want to be creative. So you're either tiling for the money or you're tiling because you're a creative. And I would consider myself a bit more of a creative. I used to draw when I was little. I've got books of drawings everywhere, sketches. And for me, it was like, it's not about making money. It's about, I did this with my hands,
Yeah.
I think there's a few tilers who'll understand what I'm talking about. But so I did commercial and I didn't enjoy it. Learned a lot, but didn't enjoy it. I had a guy who I met through a mate. He reached out to me, said, "Hey, I've got 2 weeks of work out in where was it? Beaconsfield, 350-meter floor. Do you want to come help me?" I'm like, stuff it. So I quit in commercial. I don't know what it's like now, but in commercial, you give 24 hours notice. And you can leave and still get paid out and everything. I didn't. I gave 2 weeks, and I went out on my own with 2 weeks' work with this guy. And looking back, big mistake. I was not business savvy. I was of the mind that as long as you're working, you'll be making money.
Yeah.
I had no guidance when I was younger in terms of what, saving or money or anything like that. It was very much on your own. So I went out with, I just got an ABN, did what I think I had to do, and that was just work. I actually ended up owing a lot of money in tax. And that's when it sort of hit me that I don't know anything about business, and you can't just go to work, lay tiles and have it work out. It doesn't work that way. So engaged an accountant, made sure everything was up to speed and knuckled down, paid my tax debt off. And then by the time I did all that, I was 6 years in, 6 or 7 years or something. And then what happened? Then we had our daughter, Isla.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to tile for someone else and be good at that.
Yeah.
In that role. So I ended up working for guy Sean from Idyllic Tiling down here.
Oh, yeah.
So he did some high-end architectural stuff. Working for Claire Cousins, Kennedy Nolan, some of the more well-known residential architects down here. And I learned a lot from him. So shout out to Sean. But with him for nearly 3 years. And basically I was his lead installer.
Mm.
So,
did he have many blokes working for him, or
6 at one stage and then 3 towards the end there.
Yeah. Okay.
So I actually, sorry, so I'll backtrack. When I was working for myself, I had an apprentice, and again that was a nightmare, especially when I owed tax and all that sort of stuff, which I think is something trades don't really talk about, is the tax bill, right? The amount of guys who I had conversation with, they're like, oh yeah, I owe 40,000. What am I going to do? And blah blah blah. So, and I'm not worried about talking about it with people. Like I'm not going to shy away from it. That I wasn't business savvy at the time.
It's part of your life's learnings, right? You
it is.
get into things, and when you've got a craft like you have with tiling, and you're just quoting, winning jobs, going out there doing the work, things don't always go to plan, and you learn from that.
And, the best lessons are the hard lessons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, but looking back, and I've said this a few times now, if not that I plan to, just in case my boss is listening, but if there was an instance where I had to, for some unknown reason, go back on the tools or run a business, I feel like I would be a little more savvy in that now from those lessons I learned. But
well, you have a set of skills now, right? It's usually, the way I frame it is, when I talk to people about what they have in life, it's a little bit like a filing cabinet. Yeah. So everything that you learn in life and all of the skills that you acquire in life, they get put into a sort of a system in your mind, and I refer to that as a filing cabinet. So if you keep using that skill throughout your career and throughout your life, it's there. You just open the drawer up and grab it out. It's only when you don't use it for a long period of time you go, oh, can't quite remember, that part, or it's been in the filing cabinet for too long and it's got cobwebs on it. You can't get it out.
Yeah. But there's a list of life lessons. But worked with Sean, and then he. So I actually brought my old apprentice over to Sean, and I don't most people on Instagram would probably know him. It's Trow, was iTrow, so Ryan.
iTrow, yeah.
Yep, he's an absolute gun, and credit to him, because he's probably, of all the people I met in the now 15 years, he was, I didn't teach him anything. Like, he was already willing to do it. I never had to tell him anything twice. He just did it, and don't see that much these days, which is unfortunate, but which I'm sure is a topic that we'll touch on later about the industry. But had Ryan, and then Sean from Idyllic threw in the towel. He had a little side hustle that grew and has grown, which is really good. But he just turned around one morning and said, "Hey, I'm going to throw it in 3 months." I said, "Oh, well, shit, what am I going to do? Do I go back to working for myself? Do I go into something like pool tiling?" And I think with tiling, is what I've realized now, working for Laticrete, there are so many avenues with, if you're a tiler, you can go into flooring, you can go into pool tiling. Pool tiling is almost a separate trade. You can go into masonry, stone masonry if you wanted. There's, waterproofing. there's a lot, epoxy flooring, floor prep. There's guys who just make a living out of floor prep. So there's so many avenues with tiling. So in my head, I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And I had two options to get out of tiling. Not that I wanted to. I still love tiling.
Yeah.
Which is the key to what I'm about to say. If you're going to go into sales, you must love tiling. I had a guy say to me once, he goes, I want to get off the tools. I hate tiling. Do you know anyone looking? Okay. If you hate tiling, you don't want to be a rep.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with the same problems.
No, go, mate. In that instance, you can do a number of different things, but the more common one is probably go and work in a supermarket, and that's obviously not to beat up those roles, but you need to find a completely different pathway out of tiling, because if it's not tiling, there's a lot of trades in the building industry, but you need to
there's heaps of options, and
do what you love.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity just by chance. So I reached out to Wendy, who's our HR up in the office there, and who I had a previous relationship with through some marketing stuff that I did with Laticrete on some of my jobs. So I just reached out to her. I said, "Hey, you're looking for anyone?" Just by chance, and interviews were the next week.
Yeah, wow.
So handed my resume in. I actually didn't get the job. Corey got it.
Yes, Corey Downs.
You know Corey, so Corey got it. Corey. So
he's Team Queensland now,
right? He's back down here.
Oh, is he gone back down?
Yeah, too hot for Queensland.
Oh, wow.
But he's technical services now.
Okay. Yeah,
yep.
That's right. I saw him up here with Fred.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because you went to the Pro Focus.
Yeah.
So Corey got the job, and I got the call saying, "Hey, we went with Corey," and I knew Corey previously via just Instagram, as I suppose all tilers know each other these days through Instagram. But Corey got it, and they said, "Oh, we really want to put on another rep. We'll see what happens," and blah blah blah. And then a week later, he rang me back and said, "Change our mind. Do you want the job? But start in 3 months." So I said, "Sweet, done, lock it in." So flew up there for my interview, and here I am. That was just over 3 years ago now.
As I say in show business, the rest is history.
The rest is history. But on the topic of my Cert 2 in retail management, whatever it was, I remember GM said, so I see, you've got your certificate in retail management. So retail management kind of covers sales and, retail. A lot of our customers are retail based. And I just said, yeah, but I forgot everything. I go, forget about that. Even though I put it on my resume, I said, forget about it. So it was actually pretty intimidating, to be honest.
Yeah, wow.
To go, so I used Laticrete when I was working for myself.
Yep.
Reason being, obviously products are great and, reliable and whatnot, but it was the service, I suppose, that the rep at the time provided. The whole, he'd pick up his phone, or he'd ring me, "Hey, I'm in the area today. Do you want to catch up for a coffee?" And that really stuck with me, I think. And then he rang me up one day and he said, "Oh, the bosses are coming over from the US." So Henry Rothberg came over. "Do you want to have dinner?" I'm like, "Why? I'm just a little small fry." And I met Henry, and I said to him, I buy 10 bags of glue a week and some Hydroban. What are you having dinner with me for? He goes, "I don't care if you're buying 10 pallets or 10 bags of 335. You're buying Laticrete, you all get treated the same." And that kind of stuck with me as well.
Yeah.
And I think now I try to, not just me, everyone at Laticrete, all of our reps and everyone, we all try to treat, again, it doesn't matter if you buy one bag of grout or one bag of glue or 20 pallets of glue. Everyone gets the same service. So that's why it was a bit intimidating. So that's not why, but it was intimidating to go to Laticrete. Laticrete's, it's a global company.
Yep.
One of the bigger dogs in the market. With you got Marpe, Yardex, Sika, and it was intimidating. I'll be the first to admit that, but you just realize, like with anything, everyone's just a normal person.
Yeah. Mate, that's awesome sharing. I mean, look, very, very detailed background, and it sounds like you've learned a lot throughout your time in the industry. So I want to ask you, I mean, out of all of that experience that you've had from when you first started, what gets you excited about getting up every day and jumping back on the horse and getting out there and spending time with people?
With what I'm doing now?
Yeah.
I think having solutions for people, helping people with their job. Obviously, having a tiling background, so I'm technical sales. We're all technical sales reps. We're not just sales. We're not just account managers and whatnot. Everyone has some sort of on the team has some sort of tiling background or loads of experience, which we can draw from our global reach as well. I remember when I started, if we don't know something, so we've got Fred who you've met, he knows everything about tiling. But if someone doesn't know something, we've also got a global reach, and I could literally message someone from the US now and say, hey, what do you do in this situation? I mean, I wouldn't, but you pass it up the chain and that can be done. But it's
so it sounds like everyone's well connected, right?
Everyone's well connected, yeah. Especially these days, everyone's accessible 24/7. But back to your question, what gets me up? I think the drive to making sure everyone's sales isn't about, in our role, it's not about saying, hey, I'm going to give you the best price of glue and for this and that, and it's about helping people, having solutions for what they need done, and sales comes from that. But if you got to do it genuinely. You got to be genuine about it.
Yeah.
And I think any tilers listening, or we're doing a video, so watching. But
there'll be a listening part. Don't worry.
Yeah, you can smell a rep from a mile away who doesn't have good intentions.
Yeah.
I could when I was tiling, and I actually think something I think a lot about, since I started, which is one thing that also drives me, is there's a massive disconnect with reps and trades. I'm of a belief that maybe in the past people have had bad experiences because maybe they're not so genuine. And I'm saying this as a tiler, that sometimes you just can't be bothered dealing with a rep. So I suppose our goal is as a rep or a technical sales rep is to close that gap and let everyone, I say to everyone, if you have any questions, call me, text me, email me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. If I can't, if I'm in WA or South Australia, we got Daniel or Corey's, maybe he can come out on site.
Yeah.
It goes back to, just being there for the customer and the service.
It's a pretty good network to have, especially people that come from the industry background in tiling or associated fields, right? So that's cool. I like that. So, mate, you mentioned a few mistakes. Maybe a few's too many. Maybe I I don't want to overstate that. You mentioned some mistakes, though, that happened throughout your career. What was one of the biggest ones that you made where you've learned the most from?
I suppose probably, so going back to when I said, as long as I have work, I'll be fine. That's can I swear?
Sure, mate. Do whatever you
That's
have to do. We have filters.
Absolute load of shit. Yeah, if you're not, I realized, like if it's all good going to work and tiling and whatnot, if you're not making money, one of my favorite sayings is you can go broke at home.
Yeah.
And sometimes I look back and I go, well, maybe I should have just stayed home sometimes, you know? So, you know, not charging enough. It's two reasons I wasn't charging enough. I wasn't educated enough on what I need to be charging because I wasn't a numbers guy. I didn't have an accountant to turn around. And it wasn't until I got an accountant where she said, you're earning X amount of dollars. That is not a livable income. I was like, oh. So when she said that, I actually put my rates up about $20-$25 straight away.
Yeah. Wow. So that's a per square meter rate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where it was just flat rate for basic stuff. That was, by the end of it, I was charging almost double what I was charging when I started. To give you an idea of how low I was charging myself out at, you know. And
you left yourself plenty of room to grow, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you know, and I've seen it online, you know, over the last couple of years. If you're winning every job, you're not quoting it correctly. And that being, well, if I'm charging $35 a square meter, of course I'm going to win every job. And then you get busy and then you're working way too much because you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're going to make these deadlines. And you get halfway through and you go, well, hang on, I'm not earning enough money. I can't put fuel in the car. You know, I was borrowing $20 at one stage. This is within the first 2 years or something.
Yeah.
$20 a day to put fuel in the car. So, and it was funny, right? Because I would still, on my Instagrams, when Instagram was, you know, pretty new, I was still putting up photos of the finished work, which I look back now and I go, well, that's a crap job, you know. But again, we all grow.
Yeah.
And I would go out and my friends would go, oh, you look like you're so busy, you're doing so well. And I'll turn around and go, I'm not. Like, yeah, the job looks okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, that, you know,
that's
probably my...
It's a perfect saying. Sorry to cut you off, but it's a perfect point that you make. Being busy isn't great, right? Being busy doesn't produce great outcomes. Being busy is just being busy, and that's all it is. It doesn't mean that you're profitable. It doesn't necessarily mean. I'm not saying some people can be busy and be profitable, but generally speaking, like busy is that we coin that phrase to tell our mind that, you know, I'm getting things done. And that's okay. But if, you know, that's just one part of your mind, then, you know, there might be, it might be affecting your mental health, might be affecting things at home. And as you've poetically said before,
which it was.
Profitability.
Like, yeah. And, you know, with me, like, I got to a point I didn't want to go to work anymore. I'm like, what am I doing? And blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it does. It affects you mentally. It affects you, obviously, financially. Your living arrangements and, you know, all that sort of stuff. And then let's fast forward to now. I think it's, you know, I get to see how a larger company on a global scale runs. And I've learned so much in the last 3 years and, you know, maybe the 3 years prior to that. So, you know, the last 6 years. But because Idyllic Tiling, he ran a tight ship. He's very smart, right? But he ran a tight ship, which you don't see too often. And obviously Laticrete runs a tight ship. They know what they're doing. Laticrete's been around for 67 years now. I think they know what they're doing. But even the stuff I don't see the stuff behind the scenes, but from what I do see, you understand how the bigger businesses run, and I would feel comfortable if I had to go out and work for myself. I would feel 1,000 times more comfortable and confident than what I did, 10 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever. Which, when I say it out loud, 10 years ago is a long time ago.
Yeah, well, it's a decade, mate. Yeah,
it's a long time.
It is. No, mate, that's awesome. Yeah, again, great sharing, great content. Yeah, really excited to hear about, what you've been through and the lessons that you've learned. So just fast forwarding a little bit, you've now had the benefit of seeing the industry from two different lenses, right? One from a contractor, as a professional contractor, sole trader, business owner, and another one from a representative for an adhesive company or adhesive waterproofing, caulking, sealing. There's probably a few other product ranges in there. They're two different worlds, but they're the same. The industry has been through a lot the last couple of decades. There certainly is some amazing examples of stuff going really well, and there's also a lot of unamazing things occurring in the tiling game. Where do you think the industry can improve now and in the future?
So I'm going to talk about tiling and waterproofing. They go hand in hand. But at right now, they're very two different industries, because they're going in. I believe tiling is either stagnant or, in some instances, going backwards, whereas waterproofing is moving full steam ahead. You had Byron on a couple episodes. Last episode,
great guy.
I've met him a couple of times and gone to a couple of the AIW meetings and heard concerns. I've also seen things on site that I wish I could unsee. But
you and I both.
On the topic of tiling, I remember when I started my apprenticeship. Again, I was 18. There were 18-year-olds, 19, 20-year-olds everywhere. I go on site now. I'm lucky to see a tiler under 25. Maybe even 30, to be honest. Very rarely have I seen young tilers. Now, my other concern is we have a lot to do with TAFEs. There's not many places that do Cert 3 in tiling anymore. And the ones that do have very little attendees, which is also concerning. As I said before, I would have loved to go on to TAFE, because you learn stuff that you just might not learn on site.
Usually from a teacher's perspective who's been in the industry for 30, 40 years. And that's priceless, really, to get that sort of education from people that have been around that long.
So lots of on-site apprenticeships going on now, which again is good, because you're learning, you're on site. There's nothing better than being on site, because you're always going to learn. You're going to stuff up. So, we stuffed up all the time. That's what apprentice. That's why you get paid shit all.
That's right.
But tiling wise, I think we're at a point right now where the absolute basics of tiling need to be reinforced, because let's just talk from an adhesive manufacturer side of things. Everyone should know how to use adhesive, and while I would say most do, There's a lot of things that I see. I'm just like, that could have been avoided. Grouting's another big one. Even screeding, getting your falls, all that sort of stuff. We're just, and I don't want to be all doom and gloom because I'll add something positive to this after. But again, I think the bare basics of tiling is being not forgotten, but everything's based around people's budgets and whatnot, which I understand. Everyone has a budget, but we can't cut corners on the installation because in doing so, it just brings everything, and that's why people want things done cheap.
Yeah.
Because I can get it done cheaper, and it won't be as great. Therefore, I'm willing to have my bathroom last 5 years.
I was just about to say then, define what great is. It's like, it's not going to be great. And then you answer the question with 5 years, but that's a pretty expensive 5 years.
Exactly. So I remember when I started, I was with my partner and I went round to her parents' house. As soon as I walked in, shower base.
Yep.
Cooked.
Yep. Drumming.
Went to her dad, everything, mold. I was flexing, was delaminated, the tiling. The waste was basically loose. And I went to her dad and I said, hey, your shower's gone. They had it done 5 years prior. And this, I'm not just, talking about my in-laws here.
No. This is a real life example.
This happens on a lot of failures.
Oh yeah.
And it's only 4 or 5 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, he said, we recently got it done. I would call 5 years recent, yeah?
Yeah, me too.
I said, when it starts growing mushrooms, let me know. 2 years later, 2 meters away from the shower, mushroom popped up. Sent me a photo and he said, I think we should fix the bathroom. And anyway, I pulled it apart and that was probably the first time I'd seen probably the worst installation I've seen. There was no adhesion on the walls. The waterproofing was horrid. The grout was literally holding the tiles in place. Incorrect trowel size, all that sort of stuff. And it was the reason they used the person that they used was because he was slightly cheaper. And 5-6 years down the track, they're spending tens of thousands of dollars to rip it out, replace everything, whatnot. Now, not to say that if they paid a little bit more that it would have been perfect, but you could probably say most tilers who are charging that little bit more, there's a reason they're charging a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think I've sort of gone off track here, as I tend to do. People who know me will laugh at me because
I'll rein you back in shortly.
But what was the topic there?
How the industry can improve.
Correct. So I think we're at a point where tiling basics and the fundamentals of tiling are holding on by a thread.
Yep.
All for the dollar. I'll just sum it up real simple. It's all for the dollar. And there's two things that coincide with each other, but it's comes down to education. And there's plenty of other guests previously who have on the podcast who have spoken about education, and it always comes up: education. And we do training all the time. You went to our Pro Focus up in Brizzy there.
Yeah, it was a cool day.
We just held one. Yeah, well, that was our first one of that one.
Yep.
Of that structure, which was the large format, 3 meter panels, 6 mil thick and whatnot. We just held one in Melbourne. Training can be hit and miss, especially towards the end of the year. You'll get people who just don't want to come because it's the end of the year, Christmas rush. It's busy, busy, busy. But it's so important going to training. Even if you think you know everything, you will always go to training and you'll learn something. And, you know, the reason people don't go is primarily because they don't want to take the time off to go to a training session. That's I didn't. I'll be the first one to say I never went to training sessions.
Well, every time that you're away from site or away from a job, you're not earning any money. So
exactly,
it sort of goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah, but you know, we should be structured as as tilers and waterproofers or whatever trade. Actually, you should be structured as a business to allow training for you. If you've got a crew, you should be saying, "Hey guys, we're going to go do some training today with Laticrete or whoever on pool systems." So we do lots of pool systems. Let's go do training on that. Let's go find out why we have to use this, why we should use this, and you know. And again, people sometimes we get really good attendances, numbers. Sometimes we don't, and it's a flop. But it doesn't matter if 10, 15 people rock up or 2 people, they still get the same treatment.
You have to keep repeating that cycle, right? It's a little bit like marketing. You have to continue. You have to build a plan. There needs to be a strategy. There's got to be a framework.
Yeah.
And you just have to keep implementing all of that work, that strategy, every day, every week, every month, every year. Yeah. And of course, along the way, you're going to make some amendments and change it and do things differently in accordance with some of the data that comes back in. But you don't ever stop.
No.
The moment you stop doing something, particularly the moment you stop learning, is the moment that you stop living. Like you need to constantly be educating yourself. And there's some industries do it really well. I know the electrical industry, they're forever having to, Sparkies are forever having to learn new things about their industry. Plumbing's the same in certain aspects. You know, so yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I've brought this up a couple of times, and you know, it might be a little bit of, you know, wishful thinking, but I'm of the opinion that if you've done your apprenticeship, and you can do this 2 ways, I think you could implement it as a business who runs a crew of 5, 10, 50, whatever.
Yeah.
Or TAFEs could run it, I suppose, or the Australian Tile Council could do something about it, where every 5 years you sit a day course, for instance, and you have people who are, you know, you could have us there, not to sell Laticrete, but to pass on not. So you brought it up. I think you brought it up a couple episodes ago, where there's a lot of people in the industry now, and in the technical realm of it all, who are moving on.
Yeah.
They'll be moving on
in a big way.
Yep. And they're not going to be in the industry. And I think it's important that their knowledge, because if I recall properly, you said there was a gap in that knowledge. And once those guys who are super experienced leave, there may be some, you know, lack of knowledge in general across the board. And I think it's important that we keep educating. So back to what I was saying, if there was something implemented where a company or TAFEs or the Tile Council or whatever said, you know, every 5 years we're going to hold these events. And we're just talking about any updates in the industry. And it can be general, but it's an opportunity to sit down and just make people think. You know, we're the panel training, for instance, that you went to. Globally, there's been massive failures with those purely because of wrong installation. how easy is it to ring your rep or someone and say, hey, I want to do training on this, or swimming pools, or why are my pool tiles coming off, or anything, waterproofing, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think something should be implemented where, it's not compulsory, because you can't force people to do it.
No.
But as it's almost like a CPD point that architects have to do.
Yeah.
Or builders. I think builders have to do it as well.
Well, mate, along with that, though, is we've just got to stop seeing substandard work being put out there in the marketplace for mums and dads and people that, expect a high quality finish. I don't know. There's a lot of different ingredients in this cake mix. I understand price is one and time is another and quality of materials is another. But if you don't know how to do something, pick up the phone. Like if you're not sure, like be brave enough to ring a rep and go, hey, I've got a pool coming up in 2 weeks. I've never done this type of pool tiling before. Is there any chance you can meet me on site? I just need a bit of guidance on it. What products do you have? Blah, 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 whatever it is.
Yeah.
But don't try and stick a 20 mil thick porcelain tile 3 meters high in the air with 3 dobs of glue and go, oh, I've done my job. It's going to hold. Like, I hear stories about like that all of the time. And I think to myself, either the training hasn't been sufficient or the contractor is not prepared to go, I'm going to learn more about how this should be done correctly.
Yeah.
There's
a whole
other, no, I was just saying there's a whole other, myriad of problems that can occur. There's fatalities that can occur, with that sort of tiling that I've just mentioned. I mean, people can literally have some very, very serious injuries. And we could sit here and debate it for a long time, but just have the courage just to ask for help. You don't. No one's expecting you to be the know-it-all of everything when it comes to tiling, but there's people out there that can help you, and they will.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whether it's Laticrete or whether it's another company, it doesn't matter.
So when someone rings me and says, "Hey, I want to, I need help with epoxy grouting,"
Yep.
Instead of calling me after and saying, "Hey, I've got a problem with the epoxy grout. I've left haze on there or whatever," which isn't an issue. Well, it's an issue, but it's a fixable issue.
Fixable issue, yeah.
I have a saying, but there's too many swear words in it if I say it, so I won't say it.
Yeah.
I had one today. He reached out to me on Instagram, said, "Hey, I want to do some epoxy grout. I hear you're the man to speak to. Can we chat?" And I love that. That is literally our job. That is literally, as a tech sales rep, that is our job.
Yeah.
If someone wants to know what process to do in a pool or screening and waterproofing and facades, we do a lot of facades, which not many other manufacturers are part of.
Yep.
We can do training on that as well. So working on a job at the moment, he's in the tendering process, and I won't get into it, but I said to him, because it's a large project, so when money's involved, you've got to tick all the boxes.
Yeah, 100%.
But I said to him, I go, we'll spend a day with your team, and we'll do a mock-up of the job. We'll get all the products out, and we'll have your team playing with the products. And he's like, "Oh, what? That's awesome."
Yeah.
I go,
blew him away.
To me, that's normal.
Yeah. Just what we do.
For a contractor, that's like, oh, what? That's like out of this world. But as you said, that's just what we do. And I'll do it for a large project. I'll do it for old mate who's just bought 1 kilo of epoxy.
Yeah, nice.
And that's when you get those calls, that's great, because so when I was saying before that the industry's a bit, how you going? When I get a call like that, it's like, great, this guy or girl wants to learn.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when they call you and you're like, "Oh, I'm ready. I've got the information. What's your address? Let's book it in. I'll come and see you."
See you tomorrow. See you whenever. I had one the other week. I was driving home to do some office work with my giraffe here. And
what's the giraffe's name again?
Jeff, I think.
Jeff.
I called him.
Jeff the
an hour and a
giraffe.
half ago, I officially named him. But
You have to share that with the girls.
but I had a call on the way home, and he was in the next suburb over just by chance.
Yeah.
And I said, send me the address. I'll see you soon. And he's, he offered to. I've been offered money before for that, to give you an idea of the disconnect with trades and reps, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had a guy he handed me $100. I said, no. I said, no. I said, this is my job. Like,
yeah, it's what we do.
This is what we do. And I remember when I first met you. Do you remember?
Yeah. It was on site in
yes,
Phillip Islands, or down towards
Portsea.
It was at Portsea, right?
Portsea,
and you guys you were cutting some 20 mil thick terrazzo 600 by 600s on a bathroom job, which actually, by the way, looked pretty mint. When I got there, and you were nowhere near finished. Was that the one?
Yeah.
And you're having some issues with the IQ machine. Yeah.
And I reached out to the guys in the US actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I hadn't met you prior to that.
Yep.
And you came out next day.
Mm.
And I think, that's an impression. And as a rep, it's super important. So the customers know you can be there.
Mm. Yeah, that's awesome.
Turns out you just have to sharpen the blade every time.
Mate, these things
but
happen.
That's what I mean. You came all the way down to Portsea. So anyone in Victoria knows, Portsea's a bit of a nice hike.
Yeah.
Nice drive.
Yeah.
But you came down just to basically sharpen our blade.
Well, and on that, like, I love talking about sharpening blades. Did you get an invitation to the housewarming party?
Who's?
Because that was a mint property. Like,
that house.
The view was just, that was cracking. Like, I mean, I could just imagine, because you were doing a full I know you were doing the bathroom, but they were doing a full fit out there, weren't they?
It was
memory.
Yeah, kitchen and just a kitchen bathroom.
Yeah.
But all the benches were tiled and floating shelves were tiled. And
but the backyard was sort of like where you guys are cutting on that little deck there. That was sort of overseeing. You could see the ocean. It was just like,
yeah, if you peek your head through, yeah. But I mean, anywhere in Portsea's nice, no matter where you stand.
Well, mate, I'm very conscious of time today, and I know that I've manipulated a fair bit of it since we jumped on the call.
You've only asked me 2 questions.
Well, I know, but you're a very good talker, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to interrupt you because these are it's flowing so beautifully. I'll just let you go. But I'm going to ask.
I say to people, sorry to cut you off, but I say to people, if I start babbling too much, I had it today actually. I was with Corey on site, and I turn to him and I say, "Am I babbling too much?"
Yeah.
He goes, "No, you're right. Keep going. It's great."
Keep going. Yep. The information is just coming out. It's all right. It's good. It's good. I like it.
Feel free to just put a red stop sign up if you want.
I'm going to go there now. So tell me, how do you go about getting the best out of every day? You as a person. What's your routine like? What do you do? I mean, you've obviously young family. I haven't met your partner. Young family. How do you make it all happen?
Good question. I like working. I do have a benefit where I can sometimes work from home. I make sure if I do work from home, it's on a day I can drop our eldest off at like kinder or something. I try this year. I've changed how I'm doing things, and I'm trying to do 1 office day a week.
Yeah.
Last year I wasn't doing that because we've been so busy. Everything's kind of on the fly. Obviously, there's things booked ahead, but I think when you're expected to be on site, and someone rings you and says, "Hey, I need this," or "I need help out at this job," something's going on here. Can you come out? We've got to we don't have to, but we want to make sure everything's okay and we go out. So while I don't plan my day around that, there's always an expectation for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've found trying to manage my time a little bit more and say, all right, office days might be a Wednesday or a Friday. If something does come up on those days, luckily enough, I can work from home. If I do need to catch up, I can work till 6:30, and I've got babies. I'm in the babies' room, so they can come in here and play and whatnot. But I think this year I want to try and be a bit more time savvy.
Yeah, awesome.
I think I've always liked work. But I think as soon as you have kids, you realize you need to change things up, and you need to go do those drop-offs or pickups. So I don't work weekends. People call me on the weekend and I'll answer. But I'm lucky that our customers they'll usually text me and say, "Hey, can I ring?" And I'll just ring them straight back, or which is good. But yeah, I don't work weekends. Which, going from working for myself, where I was doing 7 days or 6 very long days, to not working weekends unless it's an absolute emergency and I have so much to catch up on. But luckily, I get most of my work done during the week. So, and look, sales it's flexible in that sense. You're
probably at that stage where I was a decade ago, where if you keep yourself busy with work, you can. There's always work to do.
Yes.
There's always an abundance of work. And I was one of these people that was always striving to complete things.
Yeah.
Thinking that
I'm the same.
Once I
finish it,
once I complete it, I'm done and I'm finished. And and I give myself a pat on the back, and then I go, crap, there's another 50 things in front of me.
Yeah.
But I'd still be racing at a really fast pace to try and complete every single thing. And I'm like, I've just got to slow down. Like I really have to just slow down, take it one step at a time, one task at a time, one event at a time, one project at a time, because there's going to be something else that's going to pop up that's going to fit into your calendar.
So if you don't take that time to step back, do you know what I mean? If someone rings me and says, "Hey, I need grat," and it's 5:30, I can't do anything about it. Other than say this store might have it or whatever, And I think, like, the other week, what did I do? Can't remember. I had a week I was just so busy. I had touched my computer for ages, and I was just flagging all the important emails. And I've got a little hit list, and I had 3 of these pages of things I had to catch up on.
Yeah.
And I've spent the last 2 days getting through it. Some of them are easy, some of them take half a day. And I've busted it down to 1.5 pages. But as you said, there's always something to do. But the list keeps going. So I think with work and family, you have to realize that you need to make time.
You do, buddy.
And if you, I actually struggle with it in regards to switching off with work, whether that's because I was always working sometimes I used to work as a distraction back in the day.
We've all been there.
Yeah. And now my head is just like, as you said, I got something that I need to tick off. I need to do it right now.
Yep.
And you don't want to finish or whatever until you can. But the last couple of nights, 5:30 for me, I try and I just close my laptop and I go, all right, let's, yesterday we actually built, not in this room, but I promised our eldest I would build like a little garden out front of her window outside the house. So we were getting that ready late last night, which was good. Which, it's only a little thing. For me, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to build her a little garden. Yeah.
Yep.
She doesn't give a shit. She doesn't.
Well, she cares.
She cares, but but it's more for me than anything.
Yeah.
All right, I don't have much time because I work during the day, so we spent an hour doing that. And I suppose the other thing is, so my partner, she has a restaurant, so she does a lot of night shifts every now and then.
Yeah.
So I suppose, I get to spend, a couple of hours with the girls now. I'm just on the couch, just relaxing and
Yeah, that's cool.
whatnot. Because when I'm done with work, I need to sit down,
Yep.
breathe it all out, and then sometimes it doesn't work because anyone with toddlers knows how that goes. But
it's always there's always playtime. There's always time for playtime, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, mate, before we run out of time today, because we've been on the on here for a while, I do want to ask some fast track questions. Mate, you've been a trooper today. I really appreciate you sharing what you have. It's been great. But we also like to find out a little bit more about people and what they think of these questions. So, mate, I'm going to fire them at you in no particular order, very random. If you could pick one place in the world to live, where would that be?
Live. I haven't been to many places. I've been to. I went to the UK for a festival in 2010. Oh, hang on, you said fast track questions, didn't you?
Yeah. So
I've been to the UK. I've been to New Zealand, and I've been to Bali.
Yeah.
And
well, out of those three, where would you live if you could choose one? Pack the wife up, the kids, away you go.
I thought New Zealand was amazing.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool place, isn't it?
But I have a fascination with Europe because of its history.
Yeah.
Like I love ancient Rome for me is like, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that some of the buildings, because I like old school architecture. So when I went to London, walking through there, some of the, churches, and I mean, I wasn't there for very long.
Yeah.
Because it was like a quick stopover for a festival, but I'd love to go back to Europe. Would I live there, especially right now? Probably not. But
well,
of the places I've been, I thought New Zealand was beautiful.
Yeah, cool. We'll chalk that down as your answer, hey? New Zealand.
We'll say New Zealand because out of the week we were there, I had 5 steaks.
Yeah.
And they were 5 of the best steaks I ever had. So let's say New Zealand.
It's got to be New Zealand.
Let's say New Zealand.
So tell me now then, what would 18-year-old Chris say to Chris today about life? What sort of advice would he give him?
He would...
Actually, you know what? No, better still, let's reverse that. I think I might have got that completely wrong. What would Chris today tell 18-year-old Chris? What bit of advice would he give him?
Oh, geez. See, I'm one of those people who everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So if I was to disappoint everyone, I would say probably nothing.
That's fair.
I mean that in the way that where I am now is in a good place.
Yeah.
And that's because of everything that's happened.
That's awesome. That's
both through work and personally and whatever. So
it's universal, mate. I completely understand.
Yeah. So that's my answer. I would just say keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. This one might throw you for a 6 then. If you had the opportunity, and anybody has the opportunity to write a book, what would you write about?
Geez. What would I write about?
Yeah. What would your book be about?
I have no idea. What would I write about?
What do you love the most?
I would probably, I don't know. That's a bit of a deep question.
It's a doozy, mate. It is a deep one.
That wasn't in the notes.
No, it was. It's on page 4. But that's okay. That's all right. That's okay. It's these things happen. So we'll go to the last question because I love this question actually. If actually that's a really good point that I've forgotten the last question, but we'll find it. That's what it was. Who's been your biggest mentor or coach throughout your life?
Mentor.
Who's meant the most to you? Who's given you the most advice?
I think a lot of without getting too far into it, I think a lot of my lessons have come from people who aren't mentors. That there's people in my life that I look at them and go, I don't want to be like you. I've sort of flipped that question, but without getting too far into it, I think that's my answer on that one. Obviously, I admire people who, if we talk on a work sense perspective, right?
Sure.
People who happy to help, happy to give advice, and there's heaps of them. I couldn't name one, to be honest with you.
No,
I'm still going to stand by my initial answer, which was people who aren't mentors have probably been very inspirational.
Yeah. No, mate. Look, it's
bit of a.
It's you flipped it.
I flipped it, but
I flipped it. I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. We don't have enough time to really unpack that today, but I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. Well, mate, Chris, you've been awesome today, and thank you for speaking so eloquently and forever, because that saves me asking a million questions and sounding like a Q&A. So that's cool, man. I really appreciate it, buddy. Just before we close off today, should people want to connect in with you, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect?
Instagram.
Yeah,
it's a good way. I'm pretty active on there. Just Stenogram with 3 N's.
Cool.
I'm on LinkedIn on a professional level.
Professional.
So if you're an architect or Tyler or whatever, LinkedIn's for the professional side of things. Obviously through the Laticrete website. All my details are up on there, so phone number, email.
Yeah, cool.
Or you can even call and the staff in the admin in the office there. I'm more than happy to pass my details on. So
cool. Well, mate, on that note, thank you for being a part of the show today. You've been a bloody champion. I know we've only known each other for a few years, but it's been an amazing few years. I will ensure that all of your contact details are put into the show notes so that if people want to reach out to you directly and have a bit more of a chat or find out more about Laticrete or just chew whatever it is.
Chew the
fat, just connect. Keep being awesome, mate. Keep doing a great job and enjoying your young family while the kiddies are young. It's a lot of fun. And,
thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on. And, I think it's good to have a podcast around tiling for the Australian market.
Absolutely.
I've already forgotten something that I wanted to say.
Mate, here's your opportunity. What is it?
Just with the waterproofing.
This can be a call sign.
We compared the tiling and waterproofing and how I said tiling's a little stagnant in terms of education.
Yeah.
Waterproofing is going bang.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I think it's got a bit to do with the new construction code, though, right? Too.
Yes, but I think it's been a hot topic since I started.
Yeah.
And I think within the last, I'm going to say 5 years, it's really stepped it up. We've gone from TAFEs who had nobody to now, and I go to a lot of the waterproofing classes, Cert 3, and there's 20 people in there, every single one.
That's great numbers to see.
It's huge numbers.
Yeah.
Especially, and my point there, and I'm sorry to do this, but you go to a tiling TAFE, there's 3 people, and then you go to waterproofing, there's a few there. So
yep,
that's what I meant when I said waterproofings and tiling, they're doing 2 different things.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
so
maybe you can edit that and cut it and put it back to where.
we will do what we can do. Mate, you've been a bloody champion. Thanks again. Until next time, buddy, stay connected.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Tiling Connect. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast. To see more of Tiling Connect, jump on our socials and follow us via LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook. If you'd like to be part of the show, email us at tilingconnect@gmail.com. Until next time, stay connected.